And go.
Tom and I have been on live radio. We've had a radio program on various radio stations here in Southern California. We've been discussing the situations of the banks and why the system doesn't work, what the motivations are, what the homeowners' rights are, and some of the situations that the homeowners are going through and why. And we've had live call-ins. We've done this for quite a number of years, trying to educate the homeowners as what are their rights, because no one instructs them. Very few people know the inside of this industry. Tom's worked in the mortgage and mortgage banking for many years. I sued banks starting 27 years ago for violations of the law. So I know this, and I've worked hundreds of cases, and I know how the system works, and we know people on the inside and what we've been told. And so it is something that the homeowners really need to know, and not only while they're in the home loan having problems, but before they actually sign a loan, they need to be educated.
That's good information. That's a very good tip.
Okay.
And most of them don't.
No, they don't.
They're just focused on how much their payment is going to be.
Right. and there should be either government agency or nonprofits or people who work with escrows and let the homeowner know before he or she signs that most important contract they'll probably ever sign, except for a marriage, is to know what their rights are, what are they getting into, and no one explains it to them because there's just no incentive behalf of the homeowner. It's for the lenders and it's sometimes for the mortgage brokers, and it's certainly not for the protection of the homeowner. Someone's got to advise him or her.
Well, we sat in the judge's chambers, and he was the other side was talking about the fact that, well, look, it's right here in your deed of trust. And we made the argument, who reads the deed of trust? When you have a client coming in, you're creating a loan, you get this whole stack of papers.
Right.
You're going to go through 37 pages of the deed and read every bit of it. And Steve said 2 words alluding to another case, and the judge just quit talking.
Well, just briefly, so that you know, my law professor told me this about 30 years ago, sitting in law school, and he's in the judge's chamber with the opposing counsel, and the opposing counsel for the corporation said, "Well, Your Honor, it's right there in the agreement what the rights are of my client," and the borrower signed it, and my professor was attorney for the borrower, said, I teach contracts. I don't understand this. Counsel, can you explain what this means? Counsel says, no. Your Honor, do you know what this means? No. How on earth is a homeowner supposed to know when the legal profession doesn't know what it says?
And what was that case, River Island?
River Island was the case there was an important case that gave the homeowner some protections when they signed documents, but you don't want to get in a position of signing what you don't know what you're signing.
Right.
So what happens when the client can't read English?
Well, there are laws that require them to put documentation in their language, and that's what they're supposed to do.
But most loan docs are always in English. Everything's in English.
Well, that's a problem.
Like Chinese? And when you're signing documents, even the notary just says, sign here, sign here, sign here, initial there, and sign here.
Exactly. Again, there needs to be an entity of a nonprofit's government agency that lets the homeowner know what he is signing, she is signing, and so the homeowner is apprised, so they know essentially what they're getting into. A broker comes to him, a friend, hey, I can get you a loan, here's the terms, you can buy this house. They don't know what they're signing, and they may say, okay, what my payment is. Sometimes the payment goes up by the very terms of the loan. They're not even aware of it. And they don't know what their rights are when they do sign. They were told certain things were going to happen. They signed a contract. Someone lied to them. They signed it. They don't know what to get into. There are rights that you can show that they had when they were lied to, but you don't want to get in a situation where you're trying to change something after that later on. Try to get it right.
I had a client that he's legally blind. He bought a house in 2006 for $500,000. He was retired on Social Security, and he was close to losing his house. He filed Chapter 13, and the attorney forced the bank to give him a modification. and they deferred $200,000.
Great. See,
So they brought his payment down to a fixed rate for 2% for the life of the loan and extended it out to 40 years.
yes.
And that was the best thing that they were able to do for him to maintain the house. Now, he's still on Social Security on $1,200.
Right.
His payment is $1,700.
Right.
So he still has to rent out a couple rooms.
Right,
to make
so he
the
could
payment.
rent out and make that payment.
Wow.
See, he had an attorney, or he had lost the home and had been foreclosed upon
right.
it. And that's, make sure that you find an attorney who, understands what's going on in that industry.
Yeah, that's
Right.
why it's important, right?
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, the unlawful detainer, what does that come into, how does that come into effect?
All right, if it, in the context of a foreclosed upon homeowner, what's going to happen is the bank may contact you and say, look, we'll give you some relocation money, but if you don't accept the money or they don't offer it and they go ahead, give you a 3-day notice to get out, and you don't get out in those 3 days, they will file eviction proceedings called unlawful detainer. And it takes a while, it can take a couple months, but essentially they're going to have a day when you have to show up in court if you don't take other actions, and they will go ahead and evict you. That's terrible. Don't let an eviction happen. There's ways to protect you, protect the homeowner against that, because if you get an eviction, that'll be on your record, your public record, and you won't be able to find a decent place to even rent it after that. So upon the time you foreclose, within a couple weeks, they'll start the eviction process. And there are ways to stop all of that, the foreclosure and the eviction. But it gets worse and worse. And when you get a judgment eviction against you, and plus a foreclosure, you're in a world of hurt.
So a homeowner is really, his best choice is to sell the property through a short sale, all-inclusive trustee, or whatever he needs to do.
Yes.
One, he's going to avoid foreclosure,
Yes.
avoid bankruptcy, and avoid an eviction notice on his record,
there
right?
is
And
no-
those three things are detrimental for a
Oh, of course. There is no reason to allow foreclosure. There's too many worked out options. And we talked and discussed about 5 or 6 of them. There's
Right.
no way. Don't ever let that happen. Talk to someone. Talk to a bunch of people that can give you advice, whether it's bringing in an investor or a possible refinance with a cosigner or selling the property, short sale, straight sale, a bankruptcy. There's too many options. Do not allow, there's no reason to allow a bankruptcy or a foreclosure sale followed by eviction. Don't put your head in the sand. Get as much counsel from good people that you can and look at your options. There's always options.
They have to learn to trust people or call somebody.
What they need to do is talk to a variety of people. And get a variety of advice from various people as to what their rights are. Read up and don't take anyone's advice. You got to check him or her out and be wise as serpents and harmless as a dove.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Do you have anything to say?
No, I think we covered that quite well, and we just need to remember that we all have rights, as Steve said. We all have options and choices, and just letting things go is never a good choice. I mean, we have to direct our lives. If we just let things happen, you're letting external forces control your life, and no one has to give up that control.
Now, with the market right now, with the real estate market declining, do you recommend all-inclusive trustees for homeowners?
Is it a possibility?
Well, a homeowner that's in trouble, an all-inclusive trustee is an option that benefits not only the homeowner, but the person involved on the buying end of it can usually get preferential rates and maybe can get a qualifying matrix that's a little bit less stringent than a traditional bank. And if all factors are equal, everyone ends up being happy and coming out whole.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very good option to consider.
So it fixes it. It's a win-win situation because the seller is able to fix his credit. He won't have a foreclosure and he won't go through this whole foreclosure scenario.
Again,
Well, as Stephen said, there are a lot of different options and ways
Right.
to avoid. If you've gotten to the point where you've been foreclosed upon and now the sheriff is going to knock on your door
It's too
and
late.
throw you out and you've got 2 hours to get your stuff, you've missed a lot of opportunities to forestall any of that happening.
True. So most important is get help.
Absolutely.
variety of sources.
A variety of sources. Don't stop. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.